Hi, I'm Dana. You're watching Life, Love, and Books, and today I'm going to do the Reading in Schools book tag. This tag was made a really long time ago by Ariel Bissett, but I was watching old videos and I want to be an English teacher, in case you didn't know, and yeah, this seemed really interesting to do and I wanted to do it. Also, you may have noticed I'm wearing the same outfit in my last few videos. That's because I filmed these all on the same day. Because I wanted to. Alright, well, let's just get started with the tag. Question number 1. Elementary school. What techniques do you think teachers should use to engage young readers? I definitely think that teachers should pick books that they think kids will enjoy. I don't think when you're in elementary school you should really be doing books because they're classic or they have a lot of literary merit. I think you just need to start getting kids to love reading, and this make reading fun. Do discussions, make games out of the books, give an reward for kids reading a lot. Like, make it fun. You have to make reading fun instead of a chore, and I think that's something that schools struggle with a lot. So get them involved reading I can't remember a single book I read in elementary school that I read for school. I just remember hating all of them, which just isn't good. I remember one of my favorite things was quiet reading time, but a lot of people never read during that, and it was only because I loved reading that I did. Do you think it's the school's job to instill a love of reading in children? I think it's the school's, yes. I think schools should have a job to make the best citizens possible, and I think reading is, like, it helps you so much in life. First of all, reading helps especially children with their ability to empathize. It would create empathetic children, which is huge. Having people who think about more than just themselves and can understand other people, and we don't do a good job of doing that. There's so many benefits to reading where I think schools, honestly, it's in their best interest to create children who love to read. And then, what was your favorite elementary school read? And that would be Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or the first 6 Harry Potter books. Actually, no, I read all 7 of them in elementary school, so the first 7 Harry Potter books. I love Harry Potter. I read the first 6 in between 3rd and 4th grade in that summer, and then I read the 7th one in the week it came out. And, you know, there is no book that has impacted my life more than Harry Potter. This book series means so much to me, and I love it so much. And it's very important to me on so many levels. So, part 2, high school. Do you think that an incorporation of YA books should be made? If so, which YA book would you add? And the answer is yes. I think one of the reasons high schoolers hate reading is because they pick books that high schoolers aren't interested in. Yes, I think it's important that high schoolers read classics and stuff, but I also think you need to pick books, at least one a year, that kids are just gonna love to read, and books written, I love the writing style of YA. It's very different from what adult novels I've read and what YA novels I've read. There are 2 completely different writing styles in YA and adult literature. And I love the writing style of YA lit. And a lot of people would if they actually read, because YA novels aren't pretentious, in my opinion. They aren't pretending to be something they're not. They're not pretending to be better, and there's just something so real about the writing style of YA lit that I love, and I think kids would love it. So the book that I think that high schoolers should have to read is Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wein. And I picked this book because, first of all, it's about a friendship, which I think really high schoolers need to read more about, how important friendship is, because, I mean, the world doesn't tell you how important friendship is, and this book definitely does. There's a lot of literary merit to this book, and it's also just it's written for high schools. It's a World War II novel written for high schoolers, which I think is very, very important to read. And it's also fantastic. This book is so good. Alright. Do you think it's important to read books from a wide variety of nationalities? And I'd say yes, because I do, but it makes me sound like a hypocrite, because the only book that I've read that isn't American or British is The Good Earth by Pearl S. Buck, which is Chinese. And I've had a lot of bad experiences with books that weren't originally published in English. And I'm not exactly sure why, but I just have not had good luck with international books at all. The only book I've read that was published did not, or I think The Good Earth was originally written in English, but the author, I'm not actually sure. Not sure. But it does take place in China, so yes. What was your least favorite book in high school? That's Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. This is not only the worst book I've read in high school, it is the worst book I have ever read ever. And it was the first book that I read for high school. But you know what's great about this book? Not only did all the students hate it, but my teacher hated it. She told us how much she hated reading this book and how much she hates having to teach it. But the head of the department loves it, and that's why she has to teach it. And that just makes me so angry, because everyone hates this book. This is just, it's hell. This book is hell. It's awful, and you should never read it. I don't care how much you love Ray Bradbury. This isn't science fiction. This is like some weird magical realism, and it's bad. It's straight up bad. Beyond. I'm still in high school, so I don't have much to say about the Beyond, but we'll just go ahead. Do you think there should be an emphasis on creative writing? I hate creative writing, and I'm not exactly sure why this is, but I always had. When we had to write stories in elementary school, I hated it. When we had to write stories in middle school, I hated it. When I got to high school and it was essay writing, like, I was in heaven. I love writing essays. I hate doing creative writing though. And I think part of it stems, I really suck at writing dialogue. I'm just bad at it. I don't know why. I'm just awful at writing dialogue. We actually had to do it in high school, and they're bad. Like, they're just straight up bad. But I do want to be a teacher, and I don't think that it would be bad to do a creative writing assignment at least once a year, and actually to just get kids comfortable with it. Because I think one of the reasons I suck at writing dialogue is I'm not comfortable with writing dialogue. So, maybe, yes, as long as I don't have to write it. How do you feel that reading you did in school has affected the reading you do now? I'm still in school, and the reading that I did in school has affected my reading in the fact that I'm really good, and not to sound like self-centered or whatever, I'm really good at switching the lenses that I'm reading in. Like, I'm very good. There's so many different ways to read, and school has taught me how to switch out those lenses, is what we called them. To put on a biographical lens, to put on an interpretive lens, to put on my fun reading lens, and to pick how I read each book that I read. Because I've read The Fault in Our Stars a few times, but I've read it with my fun lens, and I've read it with my interpretive lens, and each time I get something very different and very good out of the book. Like, and there's not a better way to read literature. I love reading in all of the different ways, and school has taught me that there's more than one way to read, which is very important to me, at least. I think that's one of the good things that reading in school has done for me. If you had to choose one book that you've read in the past year outside of school that had to be taught in high schools, which would you choose? And I am going to go with Looking for Alaska by John Green. I've read this book like 10 times. So I didn't first read it in last year, but I have read it in the last year. And I just love this book. I think that there are a lot of good things in this book to be taught in schools. I think it's really engaging and interesting. And I think there's just a lot of things that can be said about this book to be taught in high schools. I think it teaches good lessons and everything, all that jazz. All that jazz. It's just a good book, and I think high schoolers would really enjoy having to read it for school as opposed to books that are hell, like Dandelion Wine. Like, which contemporary would you rather read? Looking for Alaska or Dandelion Wine? Looking for Alaska. They're both coming-of-age stories. I consider Looking for Alaska a coming-of-age story. This is a coming-of-age story. We had to read it to learn about coming-of-age stories. I'd rather read Looking for Alaska to learn about coming-of-age, in my opinion. I'm not going to tag anyone because that's how I roll. If you want to do this video like me, I say go ahead and do it. Do whatever you want. It's your life. I'm Dana. You're watching Life, Love, and Books, and I'll see you next time. Bye!